Hi, you're here. There's an infamous trick to filmmaking. Don't say, show. But there's a more interesting trait, break the rules. So I don't know exactly where it puts this video, because I don't exactly know what this video is. But when a certain movie pulls off the best narration I've ever seen, I gotta say something. And if there's anything to say about the late Ray Liotta, he'll be remembered for a lot of things. And some things society will blissfully never let us forget. But being one of the many fellers and one of the many four questionable gentlemen looking at you, picture, he did something better than he should have. Goodfellas, released in 1990, an adaptation of the book Wise Guy by Nicholas Pileggi. It's based on the life of ex-mobster turned rat Henry Hill, directed by Martin Scorsese. What I'm led to understand is he took the approach to making it to separate the whole romanticized and mythical aspects of The Godfather, giving us a more deeper look of the men in the organized crime genre, following our protagonist through the glamour and misery that comes with it. And maybe the thing that projects this the most is Ray Liotta's narration. There have been a lot of iconic narrations throughout the history of film. Some similar to the novels they're based on, that some jump directly from the page to the screen. You can have them be pretty badass or from a dead guy. From that, at times there can be a kind of godlike quality that comes from it, sort of like the writer of the piece. And even though there can be a single entity in a grand story, you're not quite sure if they're keeping you up to speed or they're reflecting back on it. It's a mix between fourth wall breaking and bending. And you're not quite sure even if they're talking to you in the first place, such as the case of Verbal Kint. Oh, sorry, Roger, apparently. And while it's an interesting dilemma to question whether it's needed or not, Goodfellas truly triumphs in so many ways. From the very first page of the script, or second page, I'm not sure, the dialogue doesn't just inform us, but it invites us in, even though technically it's a midpoint sequence. By the way, you can kind of make an argument that it's one of the most purest forms of voice acting. That very first line setting the course of an easy life, well, almost easy, that can be made easier when the law is broken. It's almost like a verbal representation of the philosophy of why we're so interested in gangster movies to begin with, or disgusted by them. It works either way, and it was these verbal skills that got Ray the role to begin with. The story goes, apparently Ray wanted to talk to Marty at some event, but security personnel or a bodyguard tried to stop him. Ray started to act respectfully, trying to explain that he wasn't trying to start anything and he just wanted to see the guy. It was that kind of charisma and chill that Marty overheard, and I guess he thought, hey, that's my anti-hero. The right man to get down Henry's highs, lows, really highs. He makes it sound so casual that even though you feel that he's probably one paragraph away from mentioning something pretty nasty, it's so good you don't mind Henry's girl taking over for a while, giving her side of things. And even though there's a lot of it, it never gets boring. We learn interesting stuff from him like, murder is a deterrent, not a hobby. Regular people are just as corrupt. Prison ain't that bad for the right kind of people who do wrong things. And even the mob has ethics. Take the Latanza heist for example. All Henry does is tells us who's who and what their role is, but it feels like we're catching up on old chums. Remarkable. He even keeps your interest while describing his family, without it sounding like some local pulling out their wallet, saying, these are my little ones, and this is where we visited last year. Near the end, when he knows his numbers are probably up if he keeps on the same path, in the, thanks YouTube, diner scene, with his meeting with Jimmy, the whole thing of the knowledge of your greatest foe might be your friend, and the last thing you might see is a smile before death. Again, I'm not going to attempt to quote it. Just the look of his face and the voice, they match up so perfectly. It comes across as though the line between narration and image is being eliminated. The narration and the reality start to blend in a weird way. Then in a weird and stylish way, it kind of gives conclusion to it. And it's also the final scene of Paulie. How can a man, let alone an actor, facial expressions say so much but be so totally unreadable? This style of narration, of course, would be done again, but never on par with other Marty movies such as Casino, The Irishman, and completely overacted in Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, someone had to say it. It would even go on to inspire other directors' works. And while we don't often hear narrations anymore, even though I can't really back that up, maybe that's the best thing the movie could have done. If Annie Hall walks, Goodfellas runs, and others trip. Or maybe Annie Hall did it better. Well, I would need more time to figure that out, but the video is going to end